Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Hump Day. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all listeners to Wednesday. Let's just pretend it's Saturday and go back to bed, though.
Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, let's jump right into stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew.
Oh, what are you going to enjoy this morning?
Pea flower chamomile tea.
It almost looks like you're going to spill it. Oh, delicious. Nice and relaxing. Some antioxidants. The stimulation again.
Ooh, that's much better.
Oh, wow. Thank you. It's the chamomile. It really blends everything together. Well, for any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for not attending my sister's wedding because of her dress code? I, 18 female, recently decided I'm not attending my sister's 21 female wedding. My sister has her dream wedding planned. She has been dreaming of her wedding all her life and has everything down to the T. She has her cake, her venue, her dress, the bridesmaids' dresses, and the flower arrangements all prepared. She sat me and my sisters down to show us the dresses she wanted us to wear. They were cute, flowery pink gowns with lace around the neck area. We all loved them, but I had a problem. They were short-sleeved. Now, her wedding is in the summer, so short sleeves are kind of a must-have. But I have scars all down my arms, and I do not want them on show at the wedding. I pulled her aside and asked if I could get a dress with sleeves or if I could wear sleeved gloves. She said no, and that she wants everyone to look the same, so I couldn't wear sleeves or have a different dress. I said I wasn't comfortable having my arms on show around such a large amount of people and that you would see them in all the pictures. She asked if I could just put makeup on my arms, but I have keloid scars and makeup won't cover them at all. She then said if I wasn't going to cooperate, I just shouldn't come. She told my family I was being difficult and didn't want to obey the dress code because I wanted to be different. She sent out her invites a few weeks ago and messaged me asking why I haven't confirmed that I'm going. I said that I'm still not comfortable being in short sleeves and that I will just not attend since I don't want to ruin her perfect day by dressing differently. She complained, saying that she had already bought the dresses, and I said I'll give her the money for mine, but she didn't listen. I know I probably sound selfish and I shouldn't let my own issues be a priority over my sister's wedding, but I don't like being in short sleeves and there's no other way to work around it. Edit. I did forget to add, I was not a bridesmaid. My sister wanted all girls on our side of the family to wear the same dress as it's similar to hers. Am I the a-hole?
Okay, that's interesting. We'll start off with that. She's not a bridesmaid, but she's being forced to adhere to a dress code just because she's a girl.
Not just a dress code, but literally the exact dress that she has to wear.
That's really odd. I've not heard a tradition quite like that before in a wedding, but I guess everyone has their own thing.
So let me just go ahead and add for you, it is not a tradition.
Well, then why are they adhering to it?
Because apparently her sister is very controlling. And from what the OP has made it sound in the comments, she's kind of a bitch. Their family background is Jewish. Her sister's potential husband is from a Buddhist background. So they actually wanted a wedding that had no tradition/religion placed onto it. This is literally just her sister's wedding and what she envisions for it.
I mean, but by her enforcing that, isn't she doing her own version of... You know, like, that's weird. All right. I guess, OP, you're not going to the wedding because no one's forcing you to go. I don't believe you're the a-hole. I don't understand why your sister is white-knuckling this ride so hard for just the guests. I get it if we're talking about bridesmaids and that whole thing. Fine. But even then, I still feel the way I feel about this. You don't owe anyone your presence at their wedding. You say it, your arms are scarred up, and that's not something you want to display to a bunch of strangers. I can understand that. That is your prerogative. That is your choice. You're allowed to feel that way. But what's not allowed to happen is someone force you to do something you're uncomfortable with. So yeah, I don't think you're the a-hole. I think your sister needs to get over herself. That's really weird that they would be demanding guests dress in a uniformal situation. I've not heard that before. You brought it up. That's not a thing. So yeah, that kind of sucks. I guess she's just going to lose out on having a dope sister come to her wedding.
Well, the consensus is that she's not the a-hole. In fact, some of the people that, and there was only 2, by the way, that tried to say that she was the a-hole, our commenter actually put a little bit more information for them, which is her sister actually takes every opportunity to point out her scars to people.
Wow.
Almost like it's some sort of cruel joke. She actually, our poster asked if she could wear the sleeved gloves, as she said in her post, or a jacket.
Yeah.
And she was denied that, apparently vehemently. Now, a lot of people also asked why she couldn't ask her mom for support to try and, convince her sister. Apparently, her mom believes these scars were of her own fault and she sort of has to live with it. And the OP does admit that these scars were her fault. We don't know what they are.
I mean, irregardless, what are we talking about? As if it almost sounds like they think because she did it, she should live with the embarrassment and show people what she did to herself.
Well, her mom thinks that she shouldn't show anybody them because they are an embarrassment.
Well, even if it's up to the OP,
exactly.
It should not be up to anyone else on how they feel about what she did or did not do to herself.
The nice part is
she's an adult.
So the future mother-in-law said that she would try and help her apply makeup on her arms, but realizing after trying that it wouldn't cover up, apologized on behalf of her sister for her sister's behavior. And our OP says that it's not her mother-in-law's fault.
Of course not.
So it's honestly sad. It sounds like there's some controlling problems and...
Well, she's a bully too.
Oh yeah, a huge bully. Essentially discriminatory behavior against her sister for these scars. Whether her sister did it herself or not, that I digress. A lot of people have blamed others for things that are out of their control, and it says that it's their fault. Without us understanding that context, there's no way to say one way or the other.
Sure. I feel irregardless of how any of it came along, that's none of anyone else's business. And if she doesn't want to show her arms, that's her right. I don't understand what a grown adult is trying to do by making other grown adults adhere to a dress code to be a guest at a wedding. I understand dressing formally.
The bridesmaid dresses, I understand, but that's why you're a bridesmaid and you're not just a guest.
Never heard of guests having to adhere to a strict dress code, all wearing uniformal stuff. That's ridiculous. So yeah, your sister sounds like a bully. You might want to go ahead and maybe separate for a little while, and hopefully she grows up through time.
I guess we'll see. Well, let's go ahead and leave that wedding and see what's happening in this household. For our next story, am I the a-hole for making my stepson share the snacks he bought with his own money with his sister? My female 32, husband, male 40, has a son, male 17, with a previous relationship. We have an 8-year-old daughter together and a baby, 7 months. My stepson got a part-time job around Christmas. He works in Starbucks. He's using his money to buy mostly gaming equipment, games, and clothes, but sometimes he also buys snacks. They're not special snacks or anything, just Doritos or chips from the store. He likes to have some bags to eat while he's playing. He brought a big pack of stuff yesterday after work. When he came home, my daughter asked him what he brought and started looking through the stuff. He had some candy and she asked for some. He told her those candies were his and told her to not touch it. She insisted on having some, and as he said no again, they started arguing and she then cried. She came crying to me, waking up my youngest son, who's teething by the way, and told me what happened. So I told my son to just share some candy with her and help. He argued that he bought it with his own money, so he doesn't have to give her anything. I told him that we buy most of our groceries with his dad's and my money, so we could use the same logic. He started arguing until I threatened him to ground him, and he finally gave in. He was upset afterwards. When my husband came home, he told him what happened, and after dinner, my husband called me off for treating stepson as a little kid. He said, since he's being responsible with the job and getting his own money, then he should get to decide if he wants to share his snacks or not, and told me to not get my frustration out on my son. Am I the a-hole?
Okay. So there's a bit of an age gap between eldest brother and sister.
Correct.
So eldest is 17, has a job, good for him, working at Starbucks. He's a gamer, so he likes to have snacks around. That's basically what I'm getting from this story. Sister is 8. So he's getting home, putting the snacks on the table, and I guess she sees him.
Oh, yes.
We've all been there as a sibling. One sibling sees some other sibling have something, they want it. That's how it works. He bought it with his money. He points it out. It sounds like they've never had a conversation about what the expectations are for things that you buy versus what they buy. It's his money. He's working for it. You basically made him look like a child still in front of your actual child. I don't think that's a good way to go about business, especially if you're trying to make sure you're keeping the animosity to a low, especially when you're talking about siblings. So yeah, you're definitely the a-hole.
Well, the consensus is that she is the a-hole on Reddit. And let me just go ahead and read you this top commenter who has 54,000 upvotes.
Wow.
His money, his choice. So you're the asshole for that. An 8-year-old is old enough to know, no, that's not yours. So she's kinda an ass too. And if you enable her entitled tantrums, you're the asshole for that too. And as for, I told him that we buy most of the groceries with his dad's and my money, it is your legal obligation to buy food for your children. And the 8-year-old is not his child, she's yours. So your logic is actually nonsense. Don't be the evil stepmother. So it looks like there was a lot of points that Redditors put across the board. In fact, on some of them, they find it weird how she starts her post off by saying, my husband has a son, or my stepson. And then somewhere along the way, some of the verbiage says he's my son. So it's almost like she's very wishy-washy on viewing him as her son versus just a stepson. And a lot of commenters really picked up on that, where it's a weird...
Sure, no, that's how it works. You can tell a lot about someone's life by just reading how they write. So I get it.
Well, let's go ahead and leave this little tiff and go to our next story involving some friends. For our next story, am I the a-hole for telling my wife that I'm mad that she didn't let me have my friends over? Last Saturday, I went over to a friend's house to hang out with the guys. My wife, who gave birth to our son 6 weeks ago, also had her friend over to our house. So I finish up at the gym, head over there, and sit down to play some games. After playing for about 30 minutes, my wife calls me. Her friend is gone now, and asks if I can come home because a bump on her skin has gotten more painful and she doesn't want to be taking care of the baby alone when it's painful for her to stand and walk at this point. Previously, it only hurt while she was sitting. Obviously, I'm disappointed that I have to leave, but it is what it is. So I get up and tell my friend who gave me a ride over that I need him to give me a ride home. Everyone is confused and upset that I'm leaving, especially since now they're going to be short a person for their game. On the ride home, I call my wife and suggest that I just bring my friends over to my house instead. That way I can help with the baby whenever she needs me to, and I'll still get to hang out with my friends whenever I'm not needed by her. She says that she doesn't want people over and we hang up. At this point, I'm mad. After I get home, I lay down next to her. 15 minutes of silence. She obviously doesn't need me at the moment. I finally ask myself out loud, what am I going to do for the rest of the day? She immediately starts crying and saying, are you seriously mad right now? I tell her yes. I'm not mad that she wanted me home, but I'm mad that she won't let me have my friends over when in my mind it makes no difference to her. They'll be out in the living room the whole time. It's not like she's going to be leaving the bedroom anyways, since it hurts for her to walk. She has no reason to in the first place when I'll be in the house and will be available at her beck and call. She says my priorities are all wrong. I tell her that she comes before my friends, but that I don't see why I can't be there for her when she needs help, and then also be able to go out into the living room to see my friends when she doesn't. That way we're both happy, right? She gets all the help she needs, and my Saturday plans that I've been looking forward to all week aren't spoiled. She says I don't get it, that she needs moral support, and I won't be able to provide that if my friends are over. I don't understand this because I know for a fact that if I came home and just hung out playing games in the living room when not actively helping her, that she would be fine with that. She even admitted this was true. After we argued, she took an ibuprofen and felt no pain at all until the next day. Please don't leave negative comments about my wife being a baby or anything. I'm not here to make her look bad or to bash her. I love and care about her a lot. I just need to know if I was being a jerk or not.
All right. This is a little bit of a nuancy, spicy situation.
So let me go ahead, and before you actually get into this,
okay,
I cannot help but add this. Nobody in the comment section was bashing the wife.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is so funny because I was gonna say I don't know if he misread the sitch, but he might have because I don't think he should have been worrying about defending his wife. I think this was gonna always be on him for being a clown. Oof. All right. Well, sounds like another new dad to the game, and you're gonna learn your lessons.
Would you like to know how old they are?
Oh yeah.
So in a comment, he said he's 22 and his wife is 20.
Oh, they're very new to the game. All right, buddy. I'm not even going to go hard in on you either because you're still learning too. You're 22. You're a kid. You'll both learn. You got to be a lot more sensitive to the situations. And again, I don't know how many 20-year-olds are at that point. So me pointing this out as an older person, you know what I mean? Like I have to also understand that they too are learning. So yeah, you're the a-hole, but you guys are young. You'll learn. Please take these lessons. I'm sure that Reddit gave you a earful.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to those comments.
Oh,
cool. Yeah, buddy. You say it. She can barely get up without pain right now. Did she have the kid 2 weeks ago?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay, so she's still recovering.
Right. But
I mean, everyone also heals differently too.
Yes. So from what he's clarified, this bump isn't because of the pregnancy.
Okay.
This is like a cyst.
Oh.
And she's just been living with it from how he's made it sound. I'm guessing maybe they have plans in the future to remove it, but in the meantime, it causes her pain.
Ouch.
And as he said, it caused her pain more when she's sitting down. And I guess now that's changed too. Probably after the pregnancy, something's changed.
Well, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, when women do give birth, their entire biology wants to change up on them, and things that weren't problems are now problems. So yeah, you guys definitely go through a lot of changes, especially with the first birth. So yeah, but you've got some learning to do. She says it. She wants the moral support, and yeah, that sucks that your Saturday plans got goof juiced, but you know what? The good thing about life, there's always going to be another Saturday to hang out with friends. When your wife needs you after she's given birth to your child, you kind of have to be there. That's just the way the game works. And even though at 22 you may not have known all the rules, you have to adapt to them, and you got to do it with some class. You can't make her then feel bad for you being there, because at that point you probably should have you would have been better off just staying at your friend's house and telling her no, because at least then you wouldn't have shown up, been silent on the bed, and then made her cry, right? I mean, and
then argued with her.
Yeah,
so she took an ibuprofen and went to sleep.
It got to that level where she just took it just to get over the further pain you've caused. Like I said, they're so young. They're kids. Learn from the mistake. One mistake does not make you a bad human, right? One is truly an accident. 2 is a habit. So learn from it. That's how I feel. You're definitely the a-hole.
Well,
my young Padawan.
As you can probably imagine,
I look forward to this.
All of Reddit came down and said that he is definitely the a-hole. So let me just go ahead and read you 2 comments that I think are
spicy meatball.
Very spicy. For the first one, it said, "You're the a-hole and so are your friends. Why on earth would they be confused that you were going home to your wife and newborn? You have a newborn and a wife who hasn't physically healed from the birth yet." It wasn't until later that we find out it's not because of the birth. Okay. "You should be at home taking care of the 2 of them. Your job right now is to make life easier for your wife, not harder. It's also hilariously optimistic of you to think people are going to say anything negative about your wife." Additionally, I know there was a lot of commenters that saying, for you to say that, what did your friends say about your wife? For our next comment, it said, "Can we imagine a mom or wife ever saying to husband, 'I'll help you with the baby whenever I can,' or 'I'll help you with the baby when you need me'? It's not helping, it's your kid. Help means you're doing something that's not your main responsibility, so you assist. This is your responsibility. You are not helping, you're doing your job." So, yes, he got very defensive in the comments. Of course, all of Reddit did come down and give a really hard lashing to this poor individual. Clearly, there's some things that he needs to go ahead and reprioritize. He decided to marry young. He decided to have a kid young. This is kind of what happens. You need to grow up quickly.
Yep.
Now, he did actually say he did apologize to his wife.
Good.
A lot of people are hoping that it was sincere. We'll never know. We can only hope the best for their relationship and as they grow. It was, I think, and still kind of is, uncalled for in such a relationship that you realize where both sides are pretty young to say that they shouldn't be together.
That's too much.
Especially when they're still growing. You can definitely feel where our poster is childish.
Sure.
in their feelings and their justifications. I honestly feel it still is very early on. She's probably going through postpartum depression. It's probably hitting her hard and she needed him there without being a spectacle to his friends, without feeling like he was only going to be half there.
Or helping because he had to help.
Exactly.
Not because he wants to help.
You can say, at least in my eyes, you can tell someone that you love them all you want. If your actions don't show it, it's just empty words.
Sure.
And that's probably how she's feeling. And until everything gets back to normal in her body, that's just something that we kind of have to deal with. Well, let's go ahead and let our poster and his wife recover from this argument, and hopefully everything turns well for them. And let's go into this next family event. For my next story, am I the a-hole for blowing up at my mom when she said the reason I turned out so good is because she sent me to rehab for weed at 13? I'll, 20 male, admit I was a shit tween. I got into a lot of fights with my parents. My grades were shit, and I was generally a prick. When I was 13, some friends and I shared a joint one of them had gotten from their sister. It had just been made legal in our state at the time. My parents found out and they went nuts. Now, I get that weed isn't for 13-year-olds, but they took it way too far. I spent the next 3 months in an expensive rehab facility for troubled teens. I was by far the youngest and smallest. Most of these guys were 16 to 18, and they weren't in there for weed. Most of them did hard drugs and had mental issues on top of that. My roommate was a 17-year-old who was detoxing from meth and pills, who also had unmedicated bipolar. A few nights, he'd just stare at me and not sleep. We were in our rooms 18 hours a day. Everything else was meals or shit arts and crafts. It was hell, but it worked. I was too terrified to have friends, much less do drugs. I wanted to go no contact with my family at 18, but my therapist encouraged me to repair a relationship. We have a rocky one, which is why I moved out, but we've been working on healing and it's been cordial. I was over there for Easter with the whole family, and my mom congratulated me. She said she was so thankful she had sent me to get help as a kid. Otherwise, I'd just be some junkie. But now I'm a perfectly functioning member of society. I lost it. I called her several things, including cunt, and left. My sister, 18 female, said that while she agrees, I'm just hurting myself for holding on to so much anger over what happened. Am I the a-hole?
Woo! All right, so this one is irritating. I'm sure most people in life have bumped into this type of person or have someone in their life that is like this.
What type of person?
The type of person that likes to take credit for your achievements and not take any ownership of what they've done to you. They don't see any wrong in it. Those people rub me the wrong way. This kid, OP, 20, smoked a joint when he was 13. You probably shouldn't be smoking that young, but it sounds like the parents went from 1 to 100 on the situation and then put him in a rehab. And it doesn't sound like any rehab. It sounds like this was some hardcore, like the way he described it. He was sharing a room with someone who was coming down off of hard drugs.
As well as also having a mental disability on top of that.
So that's pretty severe. It sounds like he was traumatized by that. And I think most of us probably would be too.
Oh, yes.
Especially if all you did was... Because it doesn't sound like he was a junkie at all, right? It just sounds like he's another troubled teenager that was trying to find himself at the time. That happens a lot. What doesn't happen a lot, though, is your parents putting you in a rehab facility for 3 months that quickly into your tweenhood, I guess. They seem to think that all his success now in life is because of that moment.
The thing that they're not taking into account that he actually put in is that he's too terrified now to even make friends.
Sure. Like I said, he's traumatized. Like, I think the fact that the mother doesn't see any of that, I hope that he tried to convey to them how much that has impacted his life. Because either one of two things have happened in my mind. One, he hasn't told them what went on there and how much it's hurt him. Or two, he did and they don't care. That's the scary part about all of that. I don't know. Everyone handles it differently, and a lot of people don't tell their parents the truth about any situation. They just tell them what they think they want to hear. And I think he probably had a lot of fear of saying anything otherwise, because then what? We're going to send you back, right? I'm sure that
would be terrifying.
I am sure that was in that kid's head while he was growing up the entire time. So he's between the literal rock and hard place, because there's ways of teaching kids not to do drugs outside of what they did to you. I hope that you keep sticking with your therapy because it sounds like you got a long way to go. Not having friends isn't a good thing. You're definitely not the a-hole, OP.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is that he's not the a-hole. In fact, a lot of people have come out with their stories on the horrible experiences they've had, on top of the horrible things in the news revolving these facilities that are supposed to help teens, but in fact actually push them more into that direction of just hurting themselves.
I'm sure it's a nightmare.
Now, a lot of people in the comments actually put down that they think it's really bad that their therapist would insist that he continue to try and repair the relationship rather than go no contact.
Sure.
And a lot of commenters put down he should go no contact. Clearly, their way of thinking is only harming him mentally, so much so that he had an outburst in front of the entire family because of it. It should in no means be okay to be in contact with people that are like that. Hopefully, he's been able to find a little bit of peace and is able to cut out the cancer that seems to be in his life. Well, let's go ahead and leave this family and see what's going on with the punishment inside of this next one. For our next story, am I the a-hole for disagreeing with my daughter's punishment? My daughter, 17, is a senior at a private all-girls high school. There's a girl in her chemistry class that survived cancer and wears a wig to the school. My daughter wanted to make a prank video, and she cut a good-sized portion of the wig. Their teacher yelled at her and humiliated her in front of her class, and both girls were sent to the office. I got a call from the school saying my daughter had been suspended and I needed to come in, get my kid, and talk to the principal. The principal told me what happened and explained my daughter's punishment. She will be serving 10 days in-school suspension, will be excluded from all senior activities, senior picnic, prom, senior photo, brunches, games, etc., and will not be allowed to walk the stage at graduation. I personally think this was excessive. I could see maybe 5 days of in-school suspension, but I don't think it's fair to make her miss out on all her senior activities and graduation over a little prank. I know the girl is related to the principal in some way, so I'm thinking that had something to do with the severity of her punishment. I want to go above the principal and try to fix her punishment, but my ex, her mom, says she got what she deserved and will keep her from everything herself if I manage to reduce her punishment. Am I the a-hole?
Wow. All right. So let's unpack this devastation. So from what I'm understanding, OP's daughter, senior in high school.
Correct.
She wants to pull a prank on a fellow student.
Correct.
Unfortunately, this fellow student is a cancer survivor and she's wearing a wig because of it.
Yes.
How terrible of a human being have you raised that that's what she's thinking about doing in a classroom? I'm assuming that this, you say it's a prank. So student is not aware of this, that this is about to happen, this humiliation that just took place in a classroom at her expense.
Yes.
Your daughter is suspect, and she's a part of what's been going on right now in the culture. People pulling pranks at other people's expenses because it's okay once you throw your hands up and say it's just a prank. She got what she deserved. I don't care if people think it's too harsh. Ask the girl she humiliated in the classroom what she thinks, because I bet you she wouldn't have signed up to be on a prank that you probably filmed. I'm certain of. That sucks. As a dad, and I'm going to say it again because I've said this in other videos, your kids need to learn that there are consequences for their actions. It clearly doesn't look like she's learned that for the first 18 years of her life. So guess what she gets to do during her senior year? She gets to learn that lesson now. Good for her. Congrats. You've won the stupid award. And it sounds like you might need to learn some lessons too, OP. Because if you think that that's acceptable, no wonder she's acting like that in public, in school, treating human beings like that. Maybe your morals are a little more suspect than you know. Defending it by saying that this shouldn't be punished this harshly. At least there's one person in the family that has decent morals, the ex-wife, by telling you that she will go above and beyond to make sure that these punishments are upheld. That's a good parent. Yeah, you're definitely the a-hole, OP.
Well, I can see you get very steamed up about this. So let me go ahead and give you the consensus on Reddit. This is a resounding, he is the a-hole. In fact, one of the comments that he actually puts in is, but it's not like she actually cut her real hair.
Oh, you wiener jacket.
It is quite shocking to actually know that as a parent, he's not seeing the severity of this, as her actual mother has actually taken it beyond, and she's got punishments for her daughter in place for out of school for this.
Good.
to show her just how severe this kind of action and thinking and mentality regarding other people should be taken. Now, some people were saying at best case scenario, this would be considered assault. And at worst, it would be considered battery because she actually touched her person. They said they're very lucky that the school is just doing this and that a lot of people misconstrue a prank between willing parties and a prank between unsuspecting victims.
And that's why I brought it up. I don't think she knew about it.
Well, that was just a whole thing, wasn't it?
Ugh.
So why don't we go on a trip? Let's go to DisneyWorld.
Oh?
For our last story.
Okay, let's make it happy maybe.
Am I the a-hole for uninviting my stepson from our anniversary trip to Disney World?
No happiness here.
Don't you want to go on the ride?
No, I want off. I want off a couple stories back.
My 42 female, husband, 45 male, had a surprise gift to celebrate our first wedding anniversary, a trip to Disney World for the whole family this summer. Our kids are close in age, but have very different personalities. My son, 16 male, is an extrovert, has a very active social life, and does a lot of activities. My stepson, 17 male, is an introvert that prefers to stay home and does not have much going on in his life outside of school. They still have a good relationship, even playing video games together sometimes. My son was not on board with the Disney World idea at all. He had no interest in doing this kind of trip with his family and was especially upset because it would make him miss his current girlfriend's birthday. He was really angry about the situation, yelling at me multiple times, demanding to stay at home instead of going to the trip, and accusing us of ruining his life. On the other hand, my stepson was really excited about the trip. My husband is used to having a kid with no friends when doing plans like this, so he didn't expect my son's reaction. I felt that going just with my stepson would be anticlimactic and wouldn't fulfill the original idea of it being a trip for the whole family. I also didn't want to leave my son fully alone with all the house to himself. We decided to leave them both so my stepson can keep an eye on my son's behavior while me and my husband have a romantic trip just for the two of us. My stepson is sad because he wanted to go to the trip, but my son is happy about the new plan. My stepson was more intense about his disappointment at first, crying and whining a lot, but he has mostly calmed down by now. I asked my son to try to include his stepbrother a little in his social life while we are out so he wouldn't be so lonely, and he said he would try to. My husband feels bad for his son being sad, but I am convinced this is the best solution for everyone. Am I the a-hole?
Yes. Easy answer. You're a bad parent. You thought that this was the only solution to that problem? By leaving your stepson out of going on a trip that you had originally planned for all of you? All right. So I guess I've already started unpacking it. How old is stepson? I know you said it.
17.
17. Dang. And how old is the other son?
16.
Okay. So her brain dead solution was that one of them wanted to stay because they have a girlfriend that they want to go to the birthday party for. And they had whined about it so hard that they got what they wanted. But the flip side of the coin was they did not trust him alone at home. So they forced the kid that did want to go on the trip that they had already planned with him to stay home now to watch the other brother, to do essentially their job as parents.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a poo-poo solution. Stepmom. This is that wicked stepmom thing? That's it. I'm shocked that the father allowed you to do that to his son, because it kind of sounds like you're not looking out for what's in his best interest either. You wanted to cater to your real son's ability to stay home and do what he wished, right? That makes no sense. Great job. You're definitely the a-hole. There are other ways to figure out that solution outside of you just believing that sticking the other kid onto the other one and acting like the adult that is going to keep them from getting into trouble, I guess maybe is what she's doing. Or she just didn't want the stepson to come along. Like,
I'm guessing it's that.
That's terrible. What are you doing and why are you posting this on the internet? What did she think was going to happen? You're definitely the a-hole. You got some suspect values, I guess, at best. And at worst, you just don't like your stepson, which kind of sucks. And yeah, I'd be crying too, dude. Let me go too. So yeah, that's bad.
Well, the consensus is that she is the a-hole.
Okay.
It's resoundingly so, actually. They don't understand how it is that she would think it's okay to cater to her kid because especially when she says that he's yelling at her, that he doesn't want to go at this trip. And then yet almost seems to belittle her stepson who cries about
wanting to go. Yes.
The fact that you wouldn't feel like it would be a fulfilling trip because it's no longer a family trip without your son to be there I think is a little skewed, to say the least.
A little sus.
But to think that your son, who is 16, needs to be babysat by a kid that's essentially a year older. If you are so worried that he's going to be doing something, your 17-year-old stepson isn't going to be able to stop him.
Nope.
Nor should it be his responsibility to do so.
I think you're probably right when you hit it on the head is she just doesn't really like the stepson that much, and it had nothing to do with whether the son was going or not. It just looked like an opportunity to dump him off and go, look, we're going to save some money, so we're going to be able to do some extra stuff without his son along.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the extra money.
Oh, come on. People always think about money. You know what I mean? Like they go, oh, well, the kid's off. That's cheaper. I can do more stuff. Like, come on. You're suspect at best.
That's pretty sad. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll be making it to the world's happiest place.
No, that sucks for that kid, man. There was no update. She didn't go, oh, okay, Reddit, we found out, and the stepson is coming with us. See, I love him.
No.
Oh, that sucks. Because she probably got all the responses, went up to her husband and was like, see, I was right.
But please, listeners, if you do see an update, we would like to know about this.
We love actually getting you guys telling us his updates. Voice goes through it, and then we start cracking up and laughing about whatever just got updated because they're always very juicy. Oh, is that the last one? Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn notifications on for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would love to hear your thoughts on the stories today in the comments section below. So let us know what you think this stepmother should have done for her stepson.
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.